welcome to the 80s with Connor.
Yeah.
He's ready to take your order at To The Max.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Not sure.
That's a Saved by the Bell reference. You've never heard of Saved by the Bell?
I didn't watch Saved by the Bell.
Connor Rogers or
Come on.
Jordan Spieth?
Come on.
All right, you're wearing another
YouTube
jumpsuit
chat.
back-to-back days.
You think,
YouTube.
apparently.
I need the YouTube commenters to this is You look like you're working it back to the max.
It's
Saved by the Bell.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure meets Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
The Spieth reference is the only one that's hitting for me, boys. I'm sorry.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour, and welcome to all the regulars here at the Fantasy Football Happy Hour bar. Connor Rogers, Jay Croucher. Don't worry, Matthew Berry is here. He's just in the love-hate bunker right now. By the way, Saved by the Bell debuted in 1989. It was off the air in 93.
Yeah, I can't have that. You can't have that. You can't expect us to know Saved by the Bell references, Matthew, given that we are so many years your junior. So, yeah, I'm going to throw the challenge flag on that one, and Connor gets a pass.
Thank you, Jay. Oh, it sounds like we don't have Matthew. Matthew's just yelling into the void right now, so we'll take things from here while we figure that out. But listen, we got a lot to do today. And, of course, before we get anywhere, Zach Morris does drink for free. I mean, they're giving Saved by the Bell a little bit of a love here, even though we can't hear Matthew, and he's the only one that would actually want to react to this. So
exactly,
we'll keep things moving.
That'll do it for the quota of, kind of looks like.
You know how I knew you guys were right?
Justin Bieber.
I was golfing in that shirt last night,
Yeah.
and I passed by a crew of probably like high school or college guys, and this guy goes, "Hey man, great shirt," and I was like, "Damn, that's probably not a good sign." Maybe they were right.
I like this new golf version of Connor, really leaning into the golf scene.
Well, yeah, now it's over because we'll be on this desk, which is great. 6 days a week for you guys, and Big Ten coming up, and Sundays, a lot of good stuff coming up, and that continues today because we're hitting player news later in the show, including, of course, the fallout. We talked on this briefly yesterday. Anthony Richardson being passed by. Daniel Jones will be the starting quarterback for the Colts. We'll get deeper into that because we have some of the quotes after that decision. But first, we're going to hit some of our favorite season-long player props. This is one of my favorite shows we do of the summer, Jay, because we get to look ahead, and there's so much risk here because of injury that's baked into the odds, but it is fun to kind of project maybe who's going to take a jump, who's set too low. And I know you want to start with a household name.
Yeah, I do. Christian McCaffrey, who is an injury risk naturally, but this line prices in. I think a lot of people are pricing in that he's definitely going to get injured. Like, it's not a 100% chance.
This line says that because he's too good for this.
He's set at 950.5 rushing yards. Okay, so his last fully healthy season in San Francisco, 2 years ago in 2023, he averaged 91 rushing yards per game. He had 1459 for the season. He played 16 games. Now, he left 2 of those games halfway through hurt as well. So he basically played 15 games. But let's call it 16. So he averaged 91 rushing yards per game. Let's say that drops way off. Let's say he averages 75 rushing yards per game this year. Then he needs to play 13 games. He can go on IR for a month and still go over this line. So I just think that when you price out the injury risk, yes, it's elevated for McCaffrey because he does have an injury history, and he is 29 years old, which is, fairly old for a workhorse running back in this NFL. But at the same time, I think that there's just way too much prices in the injury risk from McCaffrey, and I think he can miss time and still go over 950.5.
Last year, 18 running backs went over this number. 18.
Yeah.
And actually, it would be 19. Alvin Kamara missed it by a yard.
Yeah.
1 yard.
Yeah, so I just I don't understand this line. I get that obviously a huge amount of his value is with the receiving game, but just on rushing alone, I expect that Christian McCaffrey, unless he suffers a severe outlier injury, which is an underdog to happen, he will hit 1K rushing.
I'm going to stick with the running back theme of positivity here and go over for Bucky Irving, who's at 1,000.5 yards. Bucky Irving, obviously, last year in his rookie season, where he really had to steal this backfield slowly over time, Jay. He had over 1,100 rushing yards on just 207 attempts. So the fact that this is set at 1,000 is another one where they're kind of just baking in injury. I understand Tristan Wirfs going to be out a little bit. I still think the Bucs will be able to run the ball because they're such a threat to throw that it actually does the inverse and opens up their run game. Bucky should easily get over 1,000 yards. I thought this was set a little bit low, and they know that now, unlike last year, this is his backfield.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of discontentment with Rachaad White, or at least a lack of enthusiasm about Rachaad White.
Who's now, I think, banged up already, too.
Indeed. So when he took over, he was a monster, one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL. Yes, Tristan Wirfs, that absence is going to hurt. At the same time, they get to play the Falcons in week 1, who don't have any big people on the interior of that defensive line, basically. So I think Bucky should be fine there. Schedule gets a bit harder after that without Wirfs, but still, I think that this offense is going to be so dynamic. It's not like Wirfs is the entirety of the offensive line. It's a very good unit overall, and I think that Bucky Irving, again, when you talk about injury risk, what creates injury risk in the NFL? It's like previous injury history and age. And with Bucky Irving, I think that he will be. He is a fairly low health risk, and he should go over 1,500 rushing yards.
All right, for the first time today, we could welcome in Matthew from the love-hate bunker. And he can chime in on one of these or bring one of his own. Hello, Matthew. There's that glow.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I don't know what happened. We have some audio issues or something. Yeah, I'm writing love-hate all day. Tomorrow will be love-hate day. And I like both these bets. I agree with you, Jay. Basically, betting against Christian McCaffrey is just we don't think he's going to stay healthy. And it's weird, generally speaking, I feel like when McCaffrey's missed time, he's missed significant time, but he's not a guy that he misses a game here, game here. It's either the entire season or he plays the entire season. I've been very upfront. I am in on Christian McCaffrey this year. So I'm with you on that. And then as for Bucky Irving, this is somebody who beat this number last year in a part-time role. He really wasn't dominant until the final 6 healthy games where he took over that backfield. But you sit here and you go well, last year he was basically behind Rachaad White for the first half of the year, missed a game or two, and then still managed to beat this number. So, average over 104 rushing yards his final 6 games. He's dominating the snaps in the preseason. Rachaad White is already hurt. I have from a very good source, they believe in Tampa Bay in a massive way that Bucky Irving is a true, legitimate RB1 in this league. And as exciting as how we think this offense is, Jay, you've referred to it more times than once, that it's one of the best offenses in the NFL. And why that matters specifically for this bet or for Bucky Irving's success is that sustained drives mean they stay on the field longer. They have the ball longer. There's more opportunities for Bucky Irving to carry the ball. Even if he's a great running back, but if it's not a good offense overall, they're punting a lot on third downs. They're not holding the ball. They're getting down, so they're abandoning the run. But again, we think that the Buccaneers are going to be, close or winning most of the games this year. So I really like the bet, Connor.
Yeah, I think the key, you mentioned this, Matthew, is, he only had 207 rushing attempts last year. 144 went to Rachaad White. Yeah. The Bucs, it's not the best for the Bucs if another 144 carries go to Rachaad White. And we've talked about Sean Tucker on this show, who made the most, ironically, of his 50 carries. He went over 300 yards on just 50 carries. I think he would eat into that, but it just feels like it's workhorse Bucky time down in Tampa. Matthew, how about a over for you on a player prop?
I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. I've been very clear about this. I think there is tons of fantasy football value across the board with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I actually think Brian Thomas could outperform his ADP. You guys know I'm all in on Travis Hunter. I think he's going to have a monster season. And it stands to reason that Trevor Lawrence, who's gone over 4,000 yards in each of his last 2 healthy seasons, beats his number right here of 3,700 and a half passing yards. So I think he gets at least to 3,701. Tampa Bay last year under Liam Cohen passed for over 4,250. 42.57 exactly under Liam Cohen. My guy Dwayne McFarland at FantasyLife.com, he projects him for over 3,800 yards. I actually think Dwayne's too low. I do think he hits 4,000 yards. I think he's got a pass-first mentality in terms of a coach. I think he's fully healthy. I think their defense is bad. I think they're going to have to throw quite a bit. And the addition of Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter to this offense, we do like Brenton Strange here. I actually think Parker Washington for deep PPR leagues is kind of an interesting name. But either way, I think Trevor Lawrence throws a ton. Give me the over on 3,700 and a half passing yards for T-Law this year.
Yeah, I think the key as well is that in Tampa, Liam Cohen was so, I guess, modern and advanced in leaning into the passing game. Also, he just created so much easy stuff for Baker, a lot of screen game, just a very high floor, not super dependent on hitting deep shots to accumulate yards. And look, this Jags defense, I think it's going to be better than it was last year when it was one of the worst 2 or 3 defenses in the league, Connor, but it's still not going to be an amazing defense. No. And you expect that, this team's going to win total of 7.5, so the expectation, median outcome is they're going to be throwing a fair bit.
They gave up a lot of big plays on the back end last year that led to the script that we believe in. And yes, things should be a little better for Jacksonville because there's been some change on the back end, but not enough that you make this astronomical jump and you're not playing in these explosive scripts. And listen, as we've said before, he's done this multiple times. Yeah. I think when you're looking at player props, something that gives you a little bit of a comfort food feeling is, well, I've seen him do it. And I've seen him do it recently, so why can't he do it with a better supporting cast and a better play caller? I would be backing this all the way. I'm like you, Matthew. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot this year. He's a value, not only in fantasy, but a value on the props. Jay, let's move over to a wide receiver. Is there an over you like in that market?
Yeah, kind of I feel like a champion of the show this preseason. We talk about Drake London all the time. I like him over 11.25.5 receiving yards, and we will get to some unders later in the segment. But I think with Drake London, the thing is that, one, he had 39 targets in 3 games with Michael Penix. Penix clearly had a rapport with him early on. He is going to have the lion's share of this offense in the passing game. He was 3rd in the NFL in targets last year. I think that actually had a scope to go up. He got 158 targets. He could push close-ish to 200 targets. And I think that there's going to be a lot more of an explosive element to this deep game with Michael Penix throwing down the field more. Michael Penix, given that Anthony Richardson isn't the starter, Michael Penix has a chance to lead the NFL in average depth of target, I think, with how much he throws it down the field. And Drake London, he was able to go 150 yards over this number last year, despite not having a single 40-yard reception. So I think there's a lot of upside for Drake London. Again, no real injury history in the NFL. He turned 24 a month ago, so I think that the injury risk aspect is low here too.
Yeah, London will be peppered with targets. We can't say it enough. That's going to be Michael Penix's go-to guy in an Atlanta offense that should be pretty decent, Matthew.
Not only pretty decent, but also you're sort of thinking about, well, what's his target competition? I'm sorry, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 4 times, shame on me. I'm out on Kyle Pitts. Not until, we've got to prove it. So Darnell Mooney, still no timetable for his return. So it's really, other than Bijan Robinson out of the backfield, he's competing with Ray McCloud. Like, what are we doing here? Drake London is going to flirt with a 40% target share on a pretty good offense with a pretty good quarterback. So I like the bet quite a bit. I have him as my number 9 wide receiver this year. I'm number 14 overall. Detective Drake London. We always talk about the fact that they use him a lot in the slot, get those easy catches, get those, try to get him in space, some yards after the catch, and obviously going to throw deep as well with Drake London. So early and often he'll be involved in this offense. I think he hits this number, assuming health.
All right, the regulars are chiming in. Owen McGinnity asked, thoughts on riding with Penix QB1 redraft? What do you think of that strategy, Matthew? Obviously, it would allow you to wait very, very long on taking a quarterback.
I don't love it. Look, do I think he could provide QB1 value? Sure. I wouldn't want to go into my league with only Michael Penix as my quarterback. I don't mind him as somebody if you wait late, but I'd want to pair him with somebody that at least has a little bit more of a floor. So it's a little risky given the small sample size and the fact that when they get in close, it's likely going to Bijan Robinson. Again, we like Penix. He's one of my sleepers. There's a chance he shows up on Love Hate tomorrow. We'll see how that all goes, but I don't know that I would be comfortable starting the season with him only as my quarterback in a, 10 or 12 one quarterback league.
Yeah, your strategy is something I plan on doing a lot, where I'll be fine taking a Brock Purdy. And then if I want to shoot for an upside pick later on that costs you almost nothing if you've done enough mock drafts by now, it's Michael Penix, because there's a world where he throws for over 30 touchdowns, and he has the big yardage games, but you know he's not going to run very much. And the fact is, like Matthew said, this is a team that should be able to punch in some touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see just what this team's pass rate over expectation is, or whether they do put the ball in Penix's hands more, or whether this is just Bijan's offense and then Penix is taking deep shots off of that, or whether they are letting him drop back and have games where he's throwing the ball 37 times. So that'll be interesting. We just don't have much of a sample of seeing Penix yet, so we're speculating.
I'll keep the wide receiver theme going. Ricky Pearsall, his over for receiving yards is at 875.5. That's minus 110 on DraftKings. That's not what I'm playing. I'm playing Ricky Pearsall over 1,000 receiving yards at plus 150. He is the 49ers' #1 wide receiver right now. It has been that way this summer. They're waiting for Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, obviously, down and out right now as well. We got to hear from Ricky Pearsall on the connection he's already built with the 49ers starting quarterback, Brock Purdy.
Just trying to get on the same page, communicate, different landmarks I need to be at during, different times of, his drop back, and just continuing to rep that and getting better and better with it. And then obviously just building, the actual relationship as a whole. Going into the off season, having a good few last games and just building off of that and continuing to take that confidence, continue to expand my knowledge inside the playbook and Shanahan's offense, and like you said, getting quicker and working on my routes, working on going to Florida with Brock and doing things like that.
Jay, we know the road it was for Ricky Pearsall to make it back to the field last year. In the 3 games, he got at least 6 targets. He averaged 94 receiving yards. This is a first-round pick. I'm in on him being the #1 wide receiver of this offense, especially from a target perspective.
Yeah, I think that he may tail off a little bit towards the end of the season when these guys get healthy, but he's going to go potentially, almost halfway to getting this number, I think, in the first 6-7 weeks of the season when there's no Brandon Ayuk, most likely, and Juwan Jennings still getting ramped up. Still don't know exactly what the situation is there. So, yeah, ultimately, it's Kyle Shanahan offense. The offensive line is improved, and it's Brock Purdy at the controls, who was, even last year, Brock Purdy, despite the Niners not having a good season at all, Purdy was still fine. And in terms of his yards per attempt, I believe might have led the league in yards per attempt, despite all the injuries. So I think Ricky Pearsall, again, if he is healthy, he should go over this number.
Matthew, it feels like Pearsall has been one of the key risers this summer, starting with everything going on around Juwan Jennings and the fact that everything from camp has been really positive.
It is. It's interesting. You said he's the #1 wide receiver. He's literally the only wide receiver, it just feels like. As you mentioned, no Ayuk. Jennings is not in camp yet, or, not practicing right now. Their rookie Watkins, he's also hurt. It's just, you're sort of, who else is there? And so I think people forget last year as well, no Christian McCaffrey from the majority of the offense, and so he is so dynamic out of the backfield and requires so much attention that I think this is going to open things up for a lot of the other players. This is one of the better offenses in the NFL, and I don't think you can underestimate the value of having all this time where it's literally just Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall in practice, connecting with each other, furthering that. There's a reason they use a first-round draft pick on Ricky Pearsall. I love the bet at 1,000 yards at plus money for Ricky Pearsall. I think this is the breakout year. We're already starting to see it.
Kyle Lacey in the chat said, will Ricky clear top 15 at the position this season? I have him and Ayuk in a dynasty league, and I'm wondering if I should sell Ayuk. Matthew, I think the question is this the time to sell Ayuk because it feels like you'd be selling low?
No, that's what I was going to say. I would not sell Ayuk. I think you are selling low. He'll come back at some point and think he has a big game. This is the other thing that people are not baking into the Ricky Pearsall conversation. Everyone's assuming that the 49ers are telling the truth and that Ayuk is going to be back by week 6. Based on what do we think the 49ers are going to have a good sense of injury history around their players, right? They have consistently, not just McCaffrey being the most obvious version of it, but they have consistently been, not super accurate with their player timetable returns over the years. And so I don't know when Brandon Ayuk comes back, but, it was a very serious injury. And it did not happen at the beginning of the season. Remember, he held out, I think, this is off the top of my head, but week 4 maybe that it happened. So it usually takes at least a year to come back. I'm not going to have any shares of Brandon Ayuk this year unless it's like super, super late. And I'm in a league that has an IR spot that I can just throw him in there and not think about it. And then if I get anything, but I think even when he comes back, I think, Connor, we've seen this before. Players coming back from this kind of injury start slow. Like, it may be 2 years before we see Brandon Ayuk, the guy we remember, back again, even if he limps through the second half of the year. Like, I just don't think the explosiveness will be back his first year back from injury.
I agree. Historically, the track record for receivers trying to, perform at a top 25 wide receiver level from this kind of injury it's not pretty, to say the least. And then you also have to factor in, by the time Ayuk is really rolling, you could be out of playoff contention or not in the playoffs at all. You're waiting and waiting and waiting. So, yeah, I mean, there's risk with believing in 49ers injury returns.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is that the Niners have one of the easiest schedules in football. They're plus 150 to win their division. Their win total set at 10.5. So there is a good chance that they're not in massive throw scripts all the time. And there are, by the time Ayuk gets back, there will be a lot of mouths to feed on this offense in the passing game between Pearsall, Jennings, Kittle, McCaffrey out of the backfield, and Ayuk.
Matthew, you said before you won't buy into...
Can I ask a question real quickly before we move on?
Please.
So, I'm here in the bunker. I'm here in the love-hate bunker at my house. And so I'm watching now you guys, as opposed to like when we're on the desk and I'm just sort of, I'm looking at the rundown and I'm sort of in my own mind. So I'm getting more of a chance to look at Jay as opposed to a side view, which is what I usually get at the table. I'm looking at him straight on. Connor, can we get a ruling on this facial hair that Jay has started to grow, this prepubescent kind of mustache?
An evil look.
He's looking like he's ready to go out and solve some mysteries or something like that. I would like the regulars to weigh in on whether or not Jay should keep the facial hair. I'm not sure I'm down with it, Connor.
Well, it's about 1 day away from being more of an evil look. And Matthew, on top of the facial hair, you are missing the third tracksuit in a row. The leisure first.
Really?
So we got full maroon today. Top to bottom, full maroon. He's bought in. This is his look now. He's just a leisure classic. Look at this look.
Is he with the tracksuit and the weird facial hair? Is he suddenly like a record manager, like a band manager, but like not a good band manager, but like the kind of guy that he probably had like some boy bands in the 90s that he's still shopping around to malls and stuff.
The dangler earring, the one dangler earring.
He found some good-looking kids that could sing on key, and he's putting them together for some sort of boy band.
Evil Jay to the moon.
J-Town.
Little K-pop Demon Hunters operation. The funny thing is that even though it looks like a very curated look, one, I don't dress myself, and two, the facial hair is not really a decision, just kind of happened out of apathy. It just kind of happened.
A life obstacle.
We never ever talk about Connor's facial hair either, which is
can't see
kind
it.
of
That's the breast part.
Up close. It's a little
Connor
hidden
barely
on
hit
camera.
puberty, so I feel like with Connor's facial hair, it's just like, look, I can grow it.
Right.
Like,
I don't actually need to shave.
Connor has this Billy Costigan, Leonardo DiCaprio in The Departed type of kind of frazzled
scary
vibe.
character to take on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Are you guys seeing these comments, by the way?
It's
Clay
amazing.
Latham holding onto that facial hair as much as Najee Harris.
Let him go.
Evil Jay about to win all
shame.
these bets. The one before, I do think he is kind of Evil Jay with the mustache here.
Mustache
He's
is
on his way to a
generous.
Fu Manchu.
The regulars are in right now on the facial hair, Jay. So we'll see if it makes it to the Thursday
The people
show.
have spoken. The regulars have spoken. Who am I? Who am I to argue against the facial hair promoting regulars?
You don't dress yourself, and now you don't decide if you keep your facial hair or not. It's a good place to be.
Has Sophia weighed in? Jay, has Sophia weighed in on the facial hair, or does she not notice because she's too busy taking care of all your children because you're too busy, betting and having New York City dinners?
Yeah, I don't think she loves it. But that's okay.
Bryce Winter said, typical Giants fan with the facial hair. That's a good callback to the greatest bet ever placed on this show. Giants to win the NFC East.
I do love my New York Giants.
Oh, boy. All right, back to the player props here. Matthew, you said you won't believe in Kyle Pitts this year, but is there a young tight end you will believe in?
Give me all the Tyler Warren.
I'm with you.
Give me all the Tyler Warren. Daniel Jones being named the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts sent all the Colts fans into a tizzy. They're all very upset about it. But I will tell you, for fantasy purposes, It is great news. And I tweeted that out, and I had a bunch of people said by people that have never watched Daniel Jones play football, have you seen Anthony Richardson play football? Like at least Daniel Jones can occasionally complete a pass. This is somebody who last year was 32nd, literally 32nd in deep ball rate. I don't know that he was ever had a big arm, but certainly since the injury, he's been a dink and dunker. He is somebody that throws underneath. And it does seem from the preseason, Connor, Tyler Warren isn't coming off the field. He's a good blocker, obviously. He's a good short yardage target for the way they want to move this offense. They used a very high draft pick on him. He is somebody that they can use in a lot of different ways, out of the backfield in a versatile sort of way as well. So I think Daniel Jones being named starter is great for both Josh Downs and specifically Tyler Warren. So give me over 550 and a half receiving yards. I don't think they're factoring in, I don't think that line factors in Daniel Jones. And I don't think it factors in sort of his talent. Like, again, Dwayne McFarland has him projected for 642 over at fantasylife.com. So well over 100 yards or almost 100 yards more than his current line here. I think Tyler Warren's going to have a monster year. Yeah. And Tyler Warren will be on the loved list tomorrow. Make no mistake.
I really like this number, and I think in PPR, I think he's the best value tight end right now because he's one of the rare tight ends that will get scheme targets. You'll see tight end screens. You'll see touches that are designed to him to get him running in the open field, like when he was at Penn State where he actually did get carries and he did get a lot of those manufactured touches. So I'm in on Warren. Jay, how about a quarterback that you're a little bullish on?
Yeah, we'll go with a quarterback who has vastly more impressive facial hair than I do, and certainly much fuller. Dak Prescott, over 3,900, 0.5 passing yards. So to go over this number, Dak would, if he's fully healthy, and I don't think there's really that much of an injury concern with Dak. I understand that he's been hurt in his career, but he's had 3 injuries in the NFL. One, he broke his thumb week 1 against the Bucs a couple years ago, very fluky. He had the broken ankle, a gruesome ankle injury against the Giants, but that's a one-off. And then he tore his hamstring last year. Like, I don't think there's no degenerative condition. Also, he doesn't run at all anymore. Right. He had 1.6 carries per game last year. Back in his early years, he was running the ball 5 times a game, providing some rushing value. That is gone now, so I don't think he's much of an injury risk. And if he stays healthy, he just needs to average 229 passing yards per game to go over this.
Really low.
He's done that 7 years in a row. Like, we have his last fully healthy season, he had 4,500 passing yards in 2023. Last year, he was on pace, even in like a really down year, to go over this by 300 yards. So I think that Dak, he just needs to play 16 games, and he will go over this number.
And the good news is, Jay, the Fantasy Life Plus projection for Dak agrees with you, as we're seeing right here, Matthew, the great tools that the Fantasy Life Plus subscription gives players of fantasy football.
Yeah, projections, by the way, whatever your scoring system is, it's all completely unique. So, however many yards if it's 6 points for a touchdown pass or 4 points for a touchdown pass, do you get, a point for every 20 yards or 25 yards, whatever it is. So you can input your scoring systems, your unique scoring systems in there and see the projections. And you mentioned Dak Prescott as well. Jay, you're absolutely right. I'm a QB 12. You know me, I'm not the biggest Dak Prescott guy, but when it comes to fantasy, I think he's going to have a big number here. He's had over 4,400 passing yards in each of his last 3 healthy seasons. Jay, you sort of mentioned some of those years, 2019, 2021, 2023. So he's somebody that has beaten this number when he stays healthy. I think the Cowboys this year have the worst run game that they've had during any of those seasons when Dak was putting up those big run numbers. So I don't think they'll be able to run effectively. And I'd argue that with the addition of George Pickens and a fully healthy Jake Ferguson to go along with my guy 8, CeeDee Lamb, they probably have the best pass-catching core that we've seen for Dak Prescott. So Prescott, who over the last 2 seasons has ranked 3rd in the NFL in pass attempts, the Cowboys have, because, Cooper Rush has played some as well. But the Cowboys 3rd in pass attempts over the NFL season over the last 2 years. Brian Schottenheimer, that's what they're going to do. I also think, by the way, and we've talked about this, Jay, their defense is not nearly as good as it used to be. Again, there's these issues with Micah Parsons. They've been banged up. In previous years, even when they had this dominant defense, Dak was still throwing a ton. Now I think they're going to be in a little bit more of shootout mode. I don't think the Dallas Cowboy defense is terrible, but I do think it's not nearly as dominant as we've seen in previous versions. The addition of George Pickens, I think, again, really opens up this offense. Give me Dak Prescott as a top 12 quarterback this year. And, Give me the over on 3,900 and a half. I think he's easy 4,000 yards, Jay, so I love this bet.
Get personalized fantasy football insights based on your league settings. With Fantasy Life Plus, your league is unique. Your advice should be too. Head to fantasylife.com and use code ROTO20 for 20% off. You heard that, regulars. ROTO20 for 20% off.
If you play Best Ball, our Best Ball hub, our utilization HQ that Dwayne McFarland does is the best deep data dive I've seen out there. Our Fantasy HQ tool, seriously, is like ridiculous. Like, I don't know how it does it, but it does. Like, it will run your team for you, and it's a tool that I couldn't be more proud of. FantasyLife.com.
The quarterback over I like, guys, is Kaleb Williams, and simply it's at 3,600 yards, 3,600.5 passing yards. He almost did this last year, and the Bears were a disaster in terms of what was around him, the lack of infrastructure around him. He had 3,541 passing yards last year. I understand Ben Johnson is going to develop a run game, but they are going to throw the ball enough, Jay, that this was still the #1 overall pick in the draft, loaded with talent. He looks better already this summer. He has the best coaching that he, compared to last year. It's a total runaway. I mean, 3,600 is just a low bar in a league where quarterbacks play 17 games.
Yeah, I agree. And so the thing is with these props in general is that the numbers often just look a little bit too low, and the natural inclination is to go over, even though unders historically hit more with these props. But that's because your mind just automatically doesn't bake in that much injury risk, whereas your average running back is going to miss 2 games a season. It's not as relevant with quarterbacks, because quarterbacks are just less of an injury risk, even with a bit of a spike recently. There's just less attrition at the position than at a position like running back. And so I think with Kaleb, there are just plenty of reasons why he should be in better position than last. My question to you, Connor, would be, so we know what Kaleb can do out of structure and all the highlight plays and everything. Like, how much do you think he can adapt to in structure in Ben Johnson's system? Because last year in structure, he just wasn't very good.
Well, I think something that Ben Johnson was so good at in Detroit was creating space and utilizing his playmakers in roles they were the best. Think of when he just consistently peppered Amon-Ra St. Brown with targets from the slot, and what he could do with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and multiple tight ends that can catch the ball. So really, it seems, insulting to say, but it's dumbing down the offense in the reads, where when he's looking through his first read and his second read, there's just better spacing that he's accurate. Like, you're not worried about his accuracy. He's got a quick release. So I'm a believer that he'll get him to play faster. You don't want to completely butcher what makes him great, and that's the special plays out of structure. But there's going to be more scripts and more preparation week by week to play within structure and on certain plays. Like, hey, the ball's got to be out to 1 or 2 here. I didn't see that with him last year. A lot of it was drop back. Okay, my first guy's not open. Well, now I'm going to leave a clean pocket and panic. Yep. I expect that to be, it's not going to be perfect this year, but it's going to be much better. Matthew, how about, I want to hear your thoughts on Kaleb Williams as well, but another receiver that, isn't really getting a lot of love that you like the over on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on Kaleb Williams. I think just, again, we've talked about this. No team improved their offensive line more this offseason than the Chicago Bears. And if you give Kaleb Williams time, I think he's going to be pretty good, especially in a Ben Johnson offense. That was the issue with Jared Goff. Jared Goff was under pressure all the time. They built the offensive line in Detroit. They gave Jared Goff time. He was able to get in rhythm. And so we know that Kaleb Williams can make all the throws. Just can we give him time? Can we give him a structured offense? And so I think Kaleb Williams, just drafted him in a league that I'm in right now. I'm very excited about Kaleb Williams. I think this is an easy bet. I like the over here, assuming he stays healthy. But another line that I'm really shocked about, Calvin Ridley, over 925.5 receiving yards. I feel like this line is thinking about last year and isn't baking in the massive improvement he's getting from quarterback play this year in terms of the inconsistency he had last year and what he's getting in Cam Ward. Remember last year, no player had more deep targets than Calvin Ridley. He had 60. His 15.7 average depth of target, second in the NFL. And so, they're going to throw deep to him, and they're going to throw deep to him a lot. And then you sort of think about, okay, what else does Tennessee have, right? They've got Tyler Lockett. He's going to be a slot guy, a possession guy. They've got Van Jefferson. Van Jefferson hasn't caught more than 24 passes in a season since 2021. And they've got a couple of fourth-round rookies, Connor, one of whom you even said can't actually catch. Right?
Chimere
DK, right?
Yeah, DK.
DK?
Yep.
Yeah. So my point is that I think under Brian Callahan, who comes from Cincinnati, former offense coordinator, wants to throw the ball, wants to be aggressive, wants to be a pass-first offense. The best thing he has on that passing offense is Calvin Ridley, who in the first preseason game had a 47% target share from Cam Ward. Not a typo. 47%. So I think he gets a massive target share. I think he gets a massive amount of work, assuming health. Give me the over 925.5 receiving yards. I think that's way too low. I think he easily goes over 1,000.
Yeah, and Matthew, I think it speaks, volumes, and it really backs up your point. Cam Ward, we've already seen it with Calvin Ridley. Then when you hear him at the podium, he's not talking about the receivers after Calvin Ridley. He's hyping up Gunnar Helm along the lines of that. So I think it's kind of telling you this offense is going to be very, very Calvin Ridley healthy, and then they're looking for other players to just step up, even if they are guys that you wouldn't expect right away.
Yeah, there's just nothing else there.
Figuring it out.
The yards have to go to someone. Like Cam Ward's an NFL quarterback. He's going to throw for 3,000 yards, and some of those yards the yards just have to be distributed, and you would think overwhelmingly they're going to go to Ridley if he stays healthy.
Speaking of rookies, Jay, how about a rookie running back that maybe we should temper expectations on?
Yeah, so I'm taking under on Kaleb Johnson at 725.5. So there's a few things here. One, just uncertainty overall. There's been a lot of buzz about Kenneth Gainwell in Steelers camp.
He's playing over him.
Yep. Jalen Warren also still there as the established guy. Last time we saw Arthur Smith with a rookie running back, didn't go great in terms of expectations with Bijan Robinson, who, despite being fully healthy, didn't get to 1,000 rushing yards. The other aspect, too, is that last year the Steelers, they were 26th in pass rate over expectations. So they ran the ball a ton. I think that's informing this number somewhat. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to run the ball quite that much. The Jets last year in the Aaron Rodgers offense, they were 4th in pass rate over expectation. So I think that, you're probably going to find a happy medium that's somewhere within there. I don't think that the Steelers are going to have a ton of super positive game scripts for Kaleb Johnson to go off. And then the other aspect is just that, he's a running back, and that's the position with the most attrition. So there's always an injury risk as well that comes in with the under.
Yeah, Matthew, I'm a big fan of Kaleb Johnson's talent. We just haven't seen something this summer that says the Steelers are ready to just unleash him in an RB1 role in this offense. It really feels like he's the number 3 guy, and his skill set's different than the 2 guys in front of him, but I just don't know if the volume is there to get all the way to this number.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Kenneth Gainwell here. We know Arthur Smith likes to use multiple running backs. Again, I go back to Atlanta. They use a top 5 overall pick on Bijan Robinson, who everyone says is one of the greatest prospects to come out of college in the last decade. And they use a top 5 overall pick, and still Tyler Algier gets enough work to get over 1,000 yards that season. Cordero Patterson gets like 5 touches a game. Like Arthur Smith wouldn't even commit to Bijan Robinson, who was an elite athlete that they drafted very high. So what makes you think he's going to commit to Kaleb Johnson, who, all due respect, isn't Bijan Robinson? So we've seen Kenneth Gainwell. We know Jalen Warren's going to have a role. The other thing that I think they're not baking into this line, and which is why I really like the under here, Jay, is Aaron Rodgers. Make no mistake, Aaron Rodgers has generally been, throughout his career, not super embracing of rookie running backs. He wants the guys out there that he knows the protections. Aaron Rodgers has his own sort of communication. He wants people to be able to, if he just is at the line of scrimmage and he just kind of does some sort of little hand motion. I'm serious. He wants the people to know, oh, that means I'm getting the Mike linebacker and this guy's going out, right? Like, he's doing all that. And so the point of me bringing all that up is that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't want Kaleb Johnson on the field, if he trusts Kenneth Gainwell or Jalen Warren more, Kaleb Johnson isn't getting on the field. He'll get some run, but until you earn the trust of Aaron Rodgers, you're not getting on the field. It's just how that particular thing works. And so Arthur Smith is obviously going to, acquiesce to his quarterback there. So we could see Kaleb Johnson having to ramp up, and maybe he doesn't have a legit, impressive role until the middle of the season. And so just feels hard to get to this number given how many guys they have there and the concerns with significant playing time, certainly early in the year.
We'll rip through a couple unders here. Guys, one that I'm playing is J.J. McCarthy passing yards. It's 3,600.5 passing yards. I just don't know if they want him to be that guy this year while you're going to be without Jordan Addison, right? Justin Jefferson has really been absent this summer, and he's going to be back, and he's Justin Jefferson. We have no doubts about that. But 3,600 passing yards in his first season as the starter, Matthew. I think we need to be a little careful with expectations for J.J. McCarthy. I think this number is just juiced, rightfully so, at this height because everybody loves Kevin O'Connell that much and trusts him.
They do, but they improved their offensive line this offseason. They added Jordan Mason, who can be a legit runner, and maybe given that he's a rookie coming off a serious injury, Kevin O'Connell decides to do a little bit more of a balanced offense, tries to go a little bit more run heavy here. So I understand the bet here, Connor.
What about you, Matthew? Is there an under you're on?
How about Ken Walker under 875.5 rushing yards, right? He missed 6 games last season. He's never had an NFL season where he hasn't missed multiple games.
And he's
already dealing with an injury. We have a new offensive coordinator that we don't, Zach Charbonnet is getting, rave reviews in camp. So I think Ken Walker is awesome when he's out there, but I think he's going to miss time this year. I don't know how he gets to this number. Give me the under 875. Dwayne McFarland at fantasylife.com projects 830 yards, and that also might be a little high. So give me the under here.
I'll take under on Pearsall, under 850.5. The angle here is that last year he's fully healthy basically and got 876 with a quarterback who didn't run at all. Now he's got a quarterback who will run a lot in Justin Fields. I think Braylon Allen's going to be a bigger part of this offense as well. And also, Pearsall can still have a good season and go under this number. He's using more in the pass game. Alvin Kamara had a 700-yard rushing season where he made an all-pro team. So I think the Pearsall, just think he's going to get less usage.
Every time Aaron Glenn's at the podium, he talks about Brees as a receiving back. And every preseason game when the Jets starters play, Braylon Allen is rotating on the field with the starters. So I'm with you, Jay. It's more about the lack of volume as a runner, but he'll still have the receiving upside. One last one from me here, guys, and we got to have a defensive player prop. Give me Kaleb Cansey, the Bucs defensive tackle, to have at least 7 sacks. He did this last year when he was awesome. This is a really young player in this league that's been phenomenal for the Bucs since this is a tweet from me, by the way, in January 2023. I said, watched a lot of Cansey today as it's IDL week on the pod. Very unique rush ability for an interior guy. Listen, he's an undersized pass rusher, but he plays like a big guy, moves like a small guy. Kaleb Cansey, 7+ sacks on DraftKings.
Yep, perfect player to have next to Vita Vea. Cansey shooting the gap, Vita Vea gobbling up all the space.
NBC Sports Now is our free 24/7 streaming channel. You can get NFL news and all the biggest stories in sports starting at 7 a.m. with PFT Live, The Dan Patrick Show, The Dan Lebitard Show with Stu Gotts, Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, that's us, and Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Just go to NBCSports.com/now. We're going to take our first break. When we're back, we catch up on some of the biggest storylines of the week, including the fallout of the quarterback competition in Indianapolis. The Rotoworld Player News is next.
think this league is a year-to-year league, and what do I feel is best for the Indianapolis Colts in 2025? And I got to make these decisions. That's what I get paid to do, and I got to go with what I feel is right.
Do you see a future here for Anthony as a starter?
Yeah, that's hard to say. Obviously, Daniel's our starter right now, and if something happened to Daniel at some point, like AR's, gets another opportunity.
That was Colts head coach Shane Steichen on Anthony Richardson's future. Not really what you want to hear most of the time. I mean, this is a big decision. Like, this is a guy you took in the top 5. You bet a lot on as a regime, and they are pulling the plug early for a guy that his reputation was, hey, he needs to play a lot more football. They think they've seen enough.
Yeah, I think the thing is this is what happens when the potential incentives of a coach are perhaps not aligned with the incentives long-term of an organization.
Right.
Where Shane Steichen, if they're not competitive this year, he's going to lose his job. And so I think that Daniel Jones might give the Colts a better chance of going 9-8 and getting a 7-seed wild card. Anthony Richardson gives them a better chance to win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years, but that's not how this operates. And I think that Steichen probably just feels more comfortable with Daniel Jones. He feels like Daniel Jones is going to do a better job just executing the offense and making all the correct pre-snap reads and everything. And he just doesn't want to put his job in the hands of Anthony Richardson's 48% completion percentage or whatever.
Matthew, this is a player that, flashback the clock to this time last year, was potentially being the 5th or 6th quarterback taken in fantasy drafts this time last year. Now not even starting for his own team.
Yeah, it's awful for, obviously, for his long-term dynasty value, and I cannot imagine him getting a job back this year, barring injury to Daniel Jones. I mean, and I've said this before. I said this when they signed Daniel Jones. I think this is the dumbest move I've ever seen of an organization. I go back to the Commanders. I'm dead serious. When they signed Jacoby Brissett and they had Sam Howell, I said, Jacoby Brissett should never see a snap. We need to find out. Sam Howell should play the entire year, and we either find out we've got a quarterback or we're terrible and we have a low draft pick and we can get a franchise quarterback. And that's what happened. We were terrible and we drafted Jaden Daniels. Anthony Richardson should be starting every single game, and if he's not the guy, he's not the guy. But Connor, how many games has Anthony Richardson played in his pro and college career? Like less than 30?
I mean, and you go back to high school, it's the same thing. He's not this guy that came in to Florida with a ton of games played, and then he didn't play a ton of games at Florida. He declared as a very, very young player with not much playing time, and then because of the tools and traits, he was drafted that early. And then once again, it feels like it's been kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the Colts.
He's a project. You drafted him knowing he was a project, and then they haven't treated him like a project. They've basically said, why aren't you as good as C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels or some of these pro-ready rookies? And it's just like, that's not the guy you drafted. And so I think it's just, and Daniel Jones is fine. But the best case scenario for Daniel Jones is you lose in a wild card game. Like, you're not, to your point, Jay, you're not winning a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones. All of that said, for us in our world, in the world of fantasy football, it's good for Josh Downs. It's great for Tyler Warren. And I actually think in a Shane Steichen offense, Daniel Jones has sneaky super flex value or 2 quarterback league value. This is somebody who flirted at one point with the Giants with top 10, top 12-ish quarterback play. Like, they're going to use his legs. They're going to get him on the move. Like, we know Steichen likes to use mobile quarterbacks. You saw what he did with Jalen Hurts. They do have legit pass catchers. They have a real run game in Taylor. I actually think Daniel Jones is not going to be a great NFL quarterback, but I do think he could be viable for fantasy in 2 quarterback superflex leagues.
Over in Tampa Bay, Rick Stroud, who covers the team for the Tampa Bay Times, reports Jalen McMillan will be placed on injured reserve and could be out past the Bucs' Week 9 bye, Matthew. The Emeka Egbuka ADP rises every single hour.
Yeah, I mean, what are his odds for Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Because they're probably surging.
25 to 1, that type of range.
Yep. Kind of like that bet. Because we assume Godwin's coming back in Week 5, but we don't know that. We don't know when Godwin's coming back either. So if you're telling me McMillan's not back until at least Week 9, and Godwin may not be back until at least Week 5, you're looking at one of the most prolific passing offenses in the NFL with Mike Evans, and the number 2 is Emeka Egbuka, who we talk about all the time. I'm at wide receiver 36 right now. I might be too low, Connor. I'm going to have to move him up now with this McMillan news. Like, you'll see some Cade Otton as well, but seriously, he is in the Travion Henderson, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, crazy ADP risers in this preseason for fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, this is why you drafted Mecca Ibuka as well, because it's like, this room is crazy deep in wide receivers. Well, now it looks kind of thin.
Right.
And so I think Ibuka, he will be, again, this could be a top 5 offense in the NFL very easily, and he could be the number 2 option on it and even the number 1 option.
And he's just too good. Yeah. It's, he was taken in the first round for a reason by a team that at the moment looked like they didn't need a wide receiver to play that much. And like you said, Jay, here we are. Speaking, though, of a team that is having kind of the opposite problem, Tom Pelissero said, with Jordan Addison suspended and multiple injuries, the Vikings are seriously exploring veteran receivers on the trade market per sources. Kevin O'Connell spoke on how he feels right now on the depth of their wide receiver room.
So I do feel good about the depth. I feel like we're getting a great chance to see guys in some roles and positions that maybe they don't always, get to, when you have that first group in there every single time, and we feel so strongly about that group, you don't always get those reps. So I think it's been a real positive. It's been a positive to see our quarterbacks play with different guys every single day, even sometimes a different guy in the walkthrough than maybe they got for the game rep or practice rep that afternoon. So I do think it's a net positive, and we'll continue to look forward to what combination of those guys makes us the best possible offense we can be.
Matthew, I really like Kevin O'Connell, but that's the most words about almost nothing that tells me this team could have a new wide receiver soon.
Yeah, but you know what? Even if they sign somebody, the list of free agent wide receivers are kind of like, Amari Cooper, who seemed done last year. It's guys like that there are more or less free agents for a reason. I really like what I saw out of Jalen Naylor last year. And I suspect, because it's not like Addison has a crazy long suspension. It's a couple of games, right? And so I just feel like it'll be Jefferson and Jalen Naylor. I think they'll use Aaron Jones more out of the passing game. And then TJ Hawkinson should get an increased role as well. So maybe they sign somebody for some depth, but I don't know that there's going to be anyone that comes onto this team that I'm suddenly like, oh, there's immediate fantasy impact. Like Amari Cooper, off the top of my head, is the biggest name free agent right now. And I have no interest in Amari Cooper.
Our last bit of news here, guys. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport expects Commanders running back Brian Robinson to not play for Washington in 2025. Jay, it seems like Detective Bill Krosky is just another guy that's flying upwards. Yeah,
they feel really good about their receiver room between Detective Bill, the great Chris Rodriguez, and friend of the show, Austin Eckler. Brian Robinson's an interesting one because if he does land in a place, I don't think they're going to trade him to the Cowboys, right, intra-division. But if they did, Brian Robinson might be the number 1 running back in that room. So he's an interesting guy depending on where he lands.
Yeah, Matthew, we're not really discussing this enough. What if Brian Robinson ends up in a backfield where he's the guy all of a sudden as his ADP is currently falling? We don't know where he's going to be.
Yeah, if I'm in the 10th round, I don't mind taking a flyer on him at all. He's good. He was productive last year. It's not like he suddenly hit a wall. It's more of a financial thing in terms of the depth they have, the young players they have. And so you think if he goes to Dallas, if he goes to Houston, I heard Miami might be kicking the tires. You know what I mean? There's scenarios where he goes and if he was in Houston or Dallas, you'd be really excited. And if he goes to another offense where there's not as much competition, Chicago suddenly would be interesting. Are we scared of DeAndre Swift? So again, I don't know where he winds up, but I don't mind in the 10th round. I don't mind taking a flyer because there's a better than average chance that he winds up in a really good fantasy situation.
All right, we're taking our last break here, guys. When we're back, last call. Of course, we keep all the different markets going each day. This time, we're going to take a look at who's going to win the Titanic AFC South. That's right, one of the toughest divisions to figure out. Right after this. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly, and $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. Just download the Sportsbook app and use promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crown is yours.
The crown is yours.
The crown is yours.
Time for last call. Let's take a look at the AFC South champion odds here, Jay. What do you like on this absolute mess of a board?
Yeah, screw it. I'm taking the Jags. Plus 300. Let's go. I believe in Liam Cohen. Believe in his offense. I believe the defense, which was horrific last year. It's not that bad. It was top 14 defense the previous year. When I say top 14, I mean 14th.
Listen, if there's a division you want to take the biggest underdog, it's this one, because it stinks. There's actual variance in it. I'll ride with Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans at plus 650. I don't care. I like a lot of pieces on this defense. Cam Ward, the least talked about #1 pick of all time. I think he can get the job done and surprise people. What about you, Matthew?
I like both those picks. It is a wide open division. It's not good, but I'm going to go with the chalk here. I'm going to take the Texans, who I'm going to get at plus money. I mean, they won the division last year. I think C.J. Stroud will be better this year. I think Nico Collins stays healthy. So, yeah, give me the Texans, guys. So,
Poor Colts.
Yeah, anyway. Listen, it is closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Love, hate tomorrow. For Connor and Jay, I'm Matthew from the bunker. Peace out.